Our active weather watch continues. Thanks for joining us. I'm Nicole Karkic. Taking a look at the radar returns, things are starting to wind down a little bit, but we still have a few severe thunderstorm warnings in place through the province of Ontario, as well as watches. Warnings mean the active weather is occurring outside your door. In the warning, Fenelon Falls, Sarnia, Chatham-Kent, Lindsay, Windsor, Leamington, Essex County, as well as areas near Peterborough County and northern Kawartha Lakes. So taking a look at the radar, we do have one set of storms that are moving at about 20 kilometers an hour. That's around Windsor and Lake St. Clair. The slow-moving storms are moving at about 20 kilometers an hour. So the risk with that would be localized flooding, moving more slowly. And then we have some storms near Fenelon Falls, those moving a little bit more quickly at about 45 kilometers an hour. This is the widespread watch through the day today. It's a lot of heat and humidity. That's certainly one trigger that could get these thunderstorms going. Some regions in yellow might not see anything. It's just a matter of the dynamic setup. But right now, it's again in the southwest where we're most concerned about that with the warnings. But all the way up to Pembroke over towards areas in southern Quebec, there are some watches. This is the radar as we head up to areas near Fenelon Falls and the Kawartha Lakes. You can see a little bit of activity here. This could bring the potential for hail as well as heavy downpours and certainly seeing some lightning strikes too. Widespread heat warning in place. This is an indication of temperatures being very hot. It's feeling closer to the 40s, and a lot of people are saying this is what we expect in July, but of course it's a late season heat wave. As we look at current temperatures, Toronto sitting at 27, feeling closer to 35. We did get up at Pearson to 30 degrees today, and that's the first time in August that we reached that. As we look at this evening, widespread isolated severe storms. We will continue to update you on the latest watches and warnings ahead, but right now we are going to check in with Gary Archibald, who is looking at weather across the country. And I know, Gary, you're going to start off in the west. Our active weather watch continues right here on the Weather Network. I'm Nicole Karkic. Gary Archibald will be joining us in a moment with a look at your weather across the west. But we will start off in southern Ontario, where we do have severe thunderstorm warnings still in play. A few have recently been added. This includes Bancroft, Barry's Bay, as well as Hastings Highlands. And this is where we could see the potential for heavy downpours, lightning strikes, and maybe even some small-sized hail. In the Windsor region, you can see these storms initially red, starting to wind down, move to a more green color. These storms are moving at about 20 kilometers an hour. So slow-moving storms, that could mean we could see potentially some flooding rains with just that. However, we still have some warnings in place around Windsor region, but we also have a warning around Fenelon Falls and the Peterborough Kawartha Lakes region. A few thunderstorms there still look quite potent. Widespread heat warnings are in place. This is just an indication that it could feel close to the 40s today. We are starting to cool down a little bit as we're losing the daytime heating, but this has been summer at the end of August, what we usually see in July happening now. This evening, widespread risk of isolated severe thunderstorms. Note isolated severe here as well as in areas near the Kawartha Lakes where we're getting those warnings. For the Toronto region, we haven't seen any severe weather there yet, but with convective weather, there's always the possibility. This evening, Toronto sitting at 26, feeling close to 35. It's going to look very different as we head into tomorrow. The humidity is going to be cut substantially, heading into much more comfortable conditions that I know Gary likes a lot. So, Gary, as we head into tomorrow, I'm sure a lot of people can get outside, do some gardening. It'll be a welcome relief. Open up the windows again at night. Weather Watch continues. I'm Nicole Karkic. Glad you could join us. Gary will join us in a moment with a look at weather across the country. But our most severe weather is happening in Ontario. We've had severe thunderstorm watches in play through the afternoon, including the city of Toronto. Haven't seen much there, but certainly it's been active in the southwest, in the Windsor region, heading towards London. Calm at this point, but we could anticipate seeing some storms there in the next half an hour or hour. We're going to check in with Mark Robinson, who is in Woodstock, Ontario, talking about those storms tonight. All right, thanks so much, Mark. And as we look at the radar returns, yeah, Windsor definitely seeing some heavy rain. The problem with these storms is they are pretty slow moving. So when you see that dark green enhancement on the radar, that is heavy rainfall. So not a big storm threat. Windsor has recently been dropped from the severe thunderstorm warning, so that's good news, but definitely heavy rain. We still do have a few areas included in the warnings, though. Bancroft is included, Peterborough City, southern Peterborough County, as well as northern Peterborough County and Lindsay as well. well. So those are some key areas still seeing the active weather. Widespread heat warning today, feeling closer to the 40s. It's all going to change by tomorrow, though. This front pushing through is going to cool down our temperatures, change the wind direction, less humidity definitely in store for tomorrow. So isolated severe storms for tonight. So we're going to keep on watching these for you. They could sort of bubble up out of nowhere. That's the kind of convective weather we're seeing. But this evening, temperatures still quite humid out there. 26 in Toronto, feeling closer to 35. Gary's joining us right now with a look at the severe weather threat that we're seeing in the west. Not as severe as Ontario at this point, Gary, but still a watch in place. Yeah. A few thunderstorm warnings have ended in Ontario. If you're just joining us, our active weather watch continues. Most active weather really centered in the southern section of the province of Ontario, but we will go across the country in a moment with Gary. But let's talk about the radar returns. This area around Windsor and north seeing heavy amounts of rain, slow-moving system tracking at about 20 kilometers an hour, so the potential for localized flooding. But good news is we are out of the warning for severe thunderstorms around Windsor, Chatham-Kent, as well as Fenelon Falls and Essex County. But Peterborough City is still included in a severe thunderstorm warning, so we can see a few of those thunderstorm cells starting to diminish at this point. Wouldn't be surprised if those get dropped fairly soon, but definitely as we take a closer look here, some of them around Bancroft looking a little bit nasty, so we could see some heavy downpours, and just around Peterborough, you could be definitely seeing some lightning strikes, even the potential for some hail. We'll talk more about the warnings still in place in a moment, but let's check in with Rachel Schutzen and Dana Batiste in Guelph. Yes, and a heat warning still in place as issued by Environment Canada. Windsor up towards Kitchener, including the city of Toronto, and up towards Barrie. So this means when you have a heat warning in place that it feels close to the 40s for at least an hour when you factor in the humidity. And it was a sweltering hot day out there. Even in the morning when I was outside, I was wearing shorts. It was humid already. This evening, those thunderstorms that are going to push on through are going to cool down our temperatures, change the wind direction for tomorrow. Won't be as humid, but for tonight, sitting in the mid-30s if you're out there enjoying a patio weather drink or a dinner. Gary joining us right now with a look at weather across the country. Active weather still in pockets of Ontario. Glad you could join us. I'm Nicole Karkic. Gary will join us in a moment with a look at weather across the eastern section of the country. But let's start off in the central sections where you can see right here around Windsor heavy amounts of rain. This storm tracking at about 20 kilometers an hour. No warnings for severe thunderstorms, but wouldn't be surprised if there is some localized flooding. As we look at this section right here, two thunderstorm cells that do have warnings on them. In the Bancroft region, this storm's tracking at about 50 kilometers an hour, so moving rather quickly. But we could see some heavy downpours with this as well as some pea-sized hail. Just north of Peterborough, also in a severe thunderstorm warning. Likely this will be dropped pretty soon. Notice you could see the bright pinks as well as reds starting to fizzle out, losing its intensity. Now we've had a lot of heat and humidity in place for today, fueling those thunderstorms, and it really felt like summer out there. Lots of people were tweeting about the heat, and it certainly felt like it feeling close to the 40s is what it means anywhere marked pink for today. But as we're losing that daytime heating, we're losing the risk for thunderstorms. However, all areas marked in yellow still have a slight risk of thunderstorms for tonight, but they won't be as severe as the sun starts to set, but still the potential is there. Just want to put that out there. Now this evening, we could still see some really hot conditions, but this is going to die down substantially heading into tomorrow. That front helping to clear the air out. Now Gary's joining us with a look at weather across other sections of the country. Our active weather watch continues. I'm Nicole Karkic. We're taking a look at the radar returns where we still do have heavy amounts of rain in the Windsor region and north of that too, and a few thunderstorm cells that still have warnings on them in the Peterborough region as well as areas near Bancroft, Barry's Bay. So a few areas of concern. We'll talk more about the latest watches and warnings, but first let's check in with Rachel Schutzen in Guelph. That's right. So still looking at some warm temperatures at this point. Looking at the radar, we can see a few little cells right here still going, moving at about 40 to 50 kilometers an hour in both areas. And the main areas of concern are Bancroft as well as Peterborough City, but the run around Peterborough definitely seems to be losing a lot of steam. This is the widespread severe thunderstorm watch we've had in place throughout the day. Not everywhere that's marked in yellow will see those storms, but some have, some won't. It's just the kind of convective weather that we're seeing this evening, but lots of heat and humidity still in play out there. Enjoy being out there tonight on the patios. Tomorrow will be a little bit cooler, but much more comfortable and not as humid. Tonight, if you're outside on the patio, feeling like 36 in Toronto, feeling closer to 34 up towards Barrie. And this again has been our potential for storms. Still a slight risk tonight anywhere that we do have marked in yellow. Let's check in now with Gary, who's looking at weather across other areas in the country. Our active weather watch continues. We've had severe thunderstorm watches in place through Quebec as well as parts of Ontario today. While we still have some severe thunderstorm warnings in Ontario, we just received a tornado warning in Quebec. It's just east of Val d'Or, well east along the severe thunderstorm line in this section right here. Hard to tell. This is a wide cropping of the radar, but included in the warning is Dorval Lodge area, Parente area, and Îles Alouettes is the area that it's tracking in between Shawville at about 50 kilometers an hour. So it is moving rather fast. And again, tornado warning in Quebec. That does include Dorval Lodge area, Parente area, and this is well north of Mont Tremblant Park. Now back to the Ontario story. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning in place around the Peterborough region as well as Bancroft. Earlier today we had the southwest, including Windsor, in warnings. Those have been dropped, but we're still getting heavy amounts of rain tracking through the vicinity. So it's still ongoing there. Yes, it's going to end the next little while, and we're out of the watch zone even in the southwest, but still heavy amounts of rain, maybe some localized flooding is what you could be seeing there. Watch is still in place up towards Kitchener as well as Toronto, over towards Aurelia, including Pembroke and parts of southern Quebec too, up towards the north as well. And the heat and humidity starting to die down a little bit as we lose the daytime heating. All the heat warnings have been dropped across the province of Ontario, but still this evening you're going to be feeling that sultry air, feeling close to 36 in Toronto, 37 in London, up towards Barrie, feeling close to 34. And there is still a slight risk of seeing some thunderstorms. They should be non-severe tonight anywhere we've marked in yellow. But again, as that day goes on, we're losing that daytime heating. The risk will certainly die down as well. Let's check in now with Gary with a look at weather across the country. Our active weather watch continues. First up, there is still a tornado warning in place in Quebec. Two areas of concern are included. Just on the border of Ontario and Quebec, the storm tracking there potentially showing rotation, so that could be where we could see possibly a tornado. This is the one well north of Mont Tremblant Park in the Perron region, a line of thunderstorms, but the one that is definitely most concerning would be well east of Val d'Or. It's hard to tell. This is a very zoomed out radar, but it's well north of Quebec, in Quebec. As we look at our severe thunderstorm warnings we have in place still in Ontario, still around the Bancroft region, yes, but these starting to die down a little bit, and also areas just near Shawville. Again, this is the one that has a tornado warning on it, showing potentially signs of rotation. So a dangerous area to be in. If you know anyone around there, tell them to get indoors. It is not a good situation. That could definitely also be bringing some heavy amounts of rain and hail in the vicinity too. We've had severe thunderstorm watches in place throughout the day today. Recently dropped is Toronto from the severe thunderstorm watch, but eastern Ontario around Pembroke, over towards Ottawa, and of course around southern Quebec in the Shawville area, those are still watches and the warnings in Shawville for the tornado. We'll talk more about the Ontario story, but first let's check in now with Rachel Schutzen and Dana Batiste, who were in Guelph earlier. That's right, and still quite humid this evening, feeling close to the 30s around the GTA, London feeling close to 36, Windsor feeling close to 34, but all the heat warnings in Ontario have been dropped. Tomorrow will be a much different air mass. So as Dana and Rachel mentioned, still a potential for thunderstorms as that front makes its way through tonight, but they should be less severe. However, again, we still have a tornado warning in place in the Shawville region on the border of Ontario and Quebec. Here's Gary now with a look at weather in other areas of the country. Our Storm Watch coverage does continue. I'm Nicole Karkic. Glad you could join us. There are still tornado warnings in place on the border of Ontario and Quebec, but they are in the Quebec region around Shawville, headed towards Gatineau Park. These storms are tracking at about 50 kilometers an hour, so moving fairly quickly. There they are right there, so that could be potentially producing very heavy downpours. We could see some hail with this, and it is showing signs of rotation on the radar, so that is why we do have a tornado warning in place. Still have a few warnings in Ontario around Bancroft Bancroft, for example, for severe thunderstorm warnings, as well as Peterborough. And we did have a tornado warning in place just well east of Val-d'Or around the Parent region. That has been dropped, but it has been upgraded, or rather changed, to a severe thunderstorm warning. So these lines of cells definitely producing some severe weather there. As far as the severe thunderstorm watch goes in Ontario, Toronto has actually been dropped from it. We only have areas in eastern Ontario still included, so that is the recent update. And still a widespread risk tonight, though, for seeing severe, isolated non-severe storms. A lot of the severe weather winding down in Ontario, but again, on the border of Ontario, Quebec, that's where we do have that tornado warning in play. Heat still a concern for this evening. Pretty humid out there, feeling close to 35 in Toronto, towards Barrie, feeling close to 32. But this will change as we head into tomorrow. We're getting into much cooler air mass after that front moves through tonight. Toronto tomorrow is going to be 23, so very different. And I know Gary, who's joining us right now, is going to enjoy tomorrow much more than today. Thanks for that, Kim. All right, look at these storm clouds starting to really build in Aurelia earlier today. Cumulus clouds, when they start to look like cauliflower growing and growing, that could be a sign of convective weather and some thunderstorms looming. Now, not everywhere today in southern Ontario saw severe weather, but we did have some severe thunderstorm warnings earlier today around the Kawartha Lakes, in the Bancroft region, Peterborough as well, and in the southwest. Heavy amounts of rain has been reported around Windsor. So for tonight, yes, we're still seeing a slight risk of thunderstorms. If we do get anything, it's going to be non-severe in nature. The more severe storms for tonight have shifted off towards the east, sort of along the border of Ontario and Quebec at this point. Now, Wednesday morning, waking up to a different air mass. That front is going to cool down our temperatures, and it's broken up the humidity as well for us for tomorrow morning. Toronto will be 17, Orangeville 14, Barrie 16, plenty of sunshine. The winds out of the northwest, sustained at 15 kilometers an hour for the afternoon. Our high will be 23. So a far cry from today when Toronto at Pearson got up to 32.2. Certainly some chilling images of the damage that Hurricane Irene did. Now, it's Hurricane Week here at the Weather Network. That means you're going to see more features on the damage hurricanes can do, as well as how they form. And speaking of tropical activity, we've been looking at Cristobal, still a Category 1 hurricane in the Atlantic. It's not expected to impact our viewers in Atlantic Canada. It is staying offshore. But at this point, you can see from the satellite imagery swirling really well. It's moving north at about 24 kilometers an hour, and it's just due southwest of Bermuda. But take a look at its track. It is going to lose intensity, and by Friday, still retaining a Category 1 status in the forecast, but then by Saturday, it's going to push offshore, and it should probably just bring some strong winds to St. John's. And that's how the weather is going to play out for them. Wet weather, one low, sort of feeding off the energy of Cristobal, bringing them some showers and some wet conditions. A look at southern Ontario as we head into the weekend. Yes, Thursday into Friday is going to be seeing some high pressure, but it could be a little bit of a wet weekend for us. Saturday into Sunday, we are looking at the potential for some showers and even a chance as we roll into your holiday Monday. Oshawa here, Wednesday 22, Thursday 21, and then the chance of some showers as we head into your long weekend. There's Sunday. Now, Wednesday morning, completely different. We had a cold front swinging through southern Ontario today. It sparked some thunderstorms. Some have been more severe around the Peterborough region and in the southwest of the province. But tomorrow morning, we're going to see clear conditions, northerly winds, and 17 degrees in Toronto, 17 degrees in Hamilton as well. Now, speaking of this summer's weather, Mike Arsenault has details right now on how our summer has fared for the bee population. All right, so this evening we have a risk of seeing some thunderstorms, and if the cooler weather keeps the bees away, I'm all for it. Now, this evening, it is going to be a slight risk, so if we get anything, they will be non-severe, and most of the severe storms have shifted to the east towards the border of Ontario and Quebec. Northerly winds for tomorrow and a much fresher air mass. Coming up, Kim McDonald will take us around the world in 80 seconds.